these people.
You want to punish, but they say little progress has been made in resolving many cases of extrajudicial killing or disappearance.
No,
little progress.
I don't accept it.
Why not? Why would they lie?
Well, there are all kinds of people who want to lie.
This is an official State Department report. It comes with the imprimatur of
What is the date of that?
This covers human rights practices 2000. This is the 2001 report.
Can I quote to you a State Department report of 1995 or 96, which I do not have with me now, but I can send it to you.
But this is the latest.
Which has said that was about a year or two after my government came in, 2 years after, which has talked in very eulogistic terms of the huge change in human rights practices that were brought in by my government as opposed to the previous one.
So you only quote the reports that suit you?
No, you are quoting the ones that suit you.
Oh, I'm quoting the latest one. I'm quoting the latest one, which is surely the most relevant, isn't it?
No, not necessarily.
Why not?
All I'm telling you is
they were right then, but they're not right now.
When millions were being killed, well, not millions, tens of thousands were being killed at a time before we came in, and we stopped all that. And there are still
not according to the State Department.
I agree that there are excesses. Of course, it has been stopped. But there are excesses that happen, which is the exception to the rule. I'm not saying that we accept that. I personally will never accept such things. But one thing that I would like to say is that we are a democratic government. We have 55,000 people in the police who were taken on by the last government, who were trained to kill, to rob, to pillage, and we have been able to take action against 950 of them, not only for human rights.
But not enough, according to the State Department.
Not enough, I agree. 6 years is not a long time to finish with 17 years of state terror.
But then, Mrs. Kumaratunga, your statement, not once have we allowed any physical excesses against the town.
I'm telling you that
is misleading, isn't it?
You're taking it out of context. I was talking there of what the last government did and that we do not do that. That is organized groups of mafia to go and attack people. Not once have we allowed. This is not what we are allowing. These are things that are happening as excesses, and every time it has been brought to our notice, we have taken the strictest action against the perpetrators of such human rights violations.
Can I ask you about progress in a particular case?
I would like 1 second here. What the difference we have to make is that this government, my government, does not in any way tolerate, and that's what I was trying to say there in that passage, sentence you're quoting. We will not tolerate, neither will we encourage in any form human rights violations of the Tamil people or even the Sinhalese.
But in most cases they say there was no investigation or prosecution, giving the appearance of impunity for those responsible for human rights violations.
That is not true.
In most cases.
Wherever there has been any evidence,
you're going to take this up with the U.S. government.
State, I haven't seen this report that you're talking about.
I can give you a copy.
Yes, I'd like to have that.
Here.
But wherever it has been reported to the government, to the authorities, the police or whoever, we have taken the strictest action.
So they're wrong. They're simply wrong.
These are exceptions. I think you're taking it out of context. These are exceptions to the rule as opposed to what happened previously. And in every one of those cases, we have taken or we will take action, and very expeditiously. But what I want to underline and highlight is that when a police was made to take people up in the middle of the night, 50,000 young Sinhalese people were killed off. Nothing to do with the ethnic problem. People from my party, democratic parties, simply because they opposed the government in power then, they used to be picked up in the middle of the night in unlicensed vehicles with unlicensed number plates or without number plates. It was the police or the military that used to go in civil dress, kill them. They used to be, this was called, I don't know what word, necklacing or something, rubber tires put around their necks. And
so you're saying the situation is better than it was? There is one case which is causing huge alarm, which is the case
no
of a
more
journalist.
the situation.
The case of a journalist, Mr. Nimala Rajan, who worked for the BBC. Much respected contributor to BBC programs. You ordered an inquiry, nothing has happened. There are many people who are deeply troubled by the lack of progress. Even the judiciary in your own country has commented on apparently unenthusiastic approach by the police to this. How do you explain that, if this is something you've taken a direct interest in?
We have ordered the inquiry. People have not come up with sufficient evidence. It could be due to intimidation from whoever has done it. There are people in the security forces. After I came into government, about 13 or 18 young Tamil boys were picked up on the roads, and I heard that Tamil boys were disappearing, and I was shocked, because normally it cannot happen in Sri Lanka without the knowledge of the state. And then they were killed, and their bodies were found floating along a river which flows through Colombo. And we discovered that it was a group of people of the Special Task Force, which is what shall I say, a military body of the police. And the man concerned was in the personal security, what we call the close protection of the leader of the opposition, who was before me, the Prime Minister.
But you've got to get rid of these people if this is what the kind of action that they are taking.
We have got rid of them. We have taken serious action. But you know, we are a democratic government. They were taken to courts, and the case is taking years to be resolved, and the chap is still out on the news.
Why is it taking
You must
years?
ask the judges and the Supreme Court.
A year ago, young Tamils held in a government rehabilitation camp in central Sri Lanka were hacked to death because police failed to protect them from an organized Sinhalese mob. How could that happen?
These are organized things that are happening. We are taking, the investigation is on. There's a commission doing investigations. Just before I came, I told them they are taking too long. It happened 6 months ago.
Survivors were cuffed. Young survivors were actually cuffed to their beds, weren't they?
No. They were just hacked to death.
No, this is something that the Red Cross drew attention to.
No,
your own acting defense secretary said he first learned about this from the Red Cross, that young Tamil boys, were being tied to the beds.
Oh, you're not talking about the attack in the detention camp?
I'm talking about afterwards. These are survivors from the attack who were then cuffed to their beds.
There wasn't a single survivor. There wasn't a single survivor.
So what is Mr. Pereira talking about? Mr. W.A.S. Pereira, your acting defense secretary.
You're talking about another incident or something.
No, these were survivors from this particular... As soon as we knew, he said, he's on record as saying, as soon as we knew, we transferred the boys. I instructed the authorities concerned not to repeat this because you will not be able to win their hearts this way, which must be the understatement of the decade.
The incident that you talked about earlier, there were a couple of dozens. They were all killed. There was the single that was left.
Well, he is talking about survivors, so clearly there's a gap in
information
between your governments.
You're getting two things mixed up. This was, I think, another attack in a prison, impending attack. Not a single person died, but we quickly transferred them all to a safer place.
When you came into power, you were elected on a peace agenda. You'd accept that, weren't you? 7 years on, there was no peace.
One of the three major things that we were elected on was peace. One of the three major ones.
And this has been a complete and utter failure, hasn't it?
No, not at all.
On the peace front. How many thousands of people have died
not at all.
Since you came to power, Mrs. Kumaratunga?
Well, Mr. Blair came to power talking about peace, and it is now 5 years. He has still not been able to get the IRA to lay down arms. Hopefully,
on the contrary, there's just been destruction, decommissioning of IRA weapons.
That is what we are having.
And there's been a ceasefire for some years
now. It took 5 years, and in Great Britain it has taken 60 years of war with the IRA. Of course, we want peace. I am equally committed to peace as I was.
How can you equate the
10 years ago? Well, how can I quote it? Israel and Palestine, the most powerful nations of the world, have tried to bring peace in that area of the world, and it is still not happening. In Yugoslavia, much has happened. The most powerful nations of the world have gone in there with their arms, and still they are fighting.
Mrs. Kumaratunga, just because there's been failure in some areas, is that an excuse as to why
it's not an excuse. It's not